All right, everybody, welcome back to our Tri-State Training Day podcast. I got Chelsey Wolfe with me, who is an absolute trend setter. She is the epicenter of FFL Imagine Financial, and I wanted to get her on because they're coming fresh off of a grand opening in South Bend, beautiful city I've never seen before, and actually got to go to a Notre Dame game, which was a bucket list item of mine, Chelsey. And hearing your story and hearing your trajectory and hearing where you are in the company and what you're doing to continue to drive it, so interesting to me. Wanted to get you on the podcast so you can share with the world, you know, the things that you've done, the things you're doing, and how you're such an integral part of the growth of FFL Imagine Financial. So welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Thanks. Yeah, no, this is awesome. I've always watched your podcast and I'm like, those people are so cool. Like, I'm always so inspired. Never thought I'd be on one. So this is so awesome.
Well, you're so cool to me, and you are on one. So here we go.
Yeah.
So I think what I'd love to get into is the story of your beginning and kind of how you found FFL, and then how you were the igniter to everything that we saw in South Bend a few weeks back. I'd love to hear this story, and I think everyone else will be entertained by this as well.
Yeah. So I went to school for nursing. So I was a nurse, worked in the ER. I was just working about 1 day a week because we have 3 little girls at home. So I was mostly stay-at-home mom, but also nurse. My husband was in the car business, so he was a finance manager. So he had long, crazy hours. I mean, he would get home 9, 10 o'clock. He worked every single Saturday. So just wasn't around very often, which is why I couldn't work very much. So one day his sister was at my house and I was just venting to her about his schedule, how he's never home, this and that, just going off. And she was like, for
Just
real.
going off. How many years was he in the car business at this point?
Oh gosh. I mean, he sold cars for years and then he had been in it since me and him had been together. So like 4 or 5 years, but he sold cars before even that.
Got it. Keep going.
Yeah. So yeah, I was going off with her and then she was like, "Hey, well, I have a really like cool thing. I went to school with this girl. Her name's Mindy Tibbs. And I think she's like doing life insurance or something like that. But she's helping tons of families every year. She's a mom. Like I think she's making a good income, like just telling me how like great her job was, how flexible it was, like from what she sees that she posted. And she was like, maybe that could be something Greg would be good at. So I was like, yes, this is awesome. I totally agree. Um, so Greg got home that night and I'm like, babe, I have the best like job opportunity for you. Like you're good at car sales. Like you're going to be amazing at this. And I told him all about this job. And I was like, you can have flexible hours. You can be home on a Saturday. Like you could do this job. And his response was, well, yeah, babe, that's cool. You should do it.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, I was like, what? Like I'm not like, that was my
I love
response.
it.
Honestly. I was like, you're insane. I've never sold anything in my life. Like I talk to my toddlers all day.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, that was his response is you should do it, which I thought he was absolutely crazy. Um, but yeah, we did. We had a meeting with Mindy that night, and I was still telling Mindy, like, hey, my husband would be great at this. And I was like texting her too, like, hey, he's the one, like, you need to talk to him, really, like, not me. Um, but yeah, that's really how I got started doing it.
Very interesting. And you're saying that he said great and you should do it. At this
Yeah.
point, had you already connected with Mindy, or had you not connected with
Oh
Mindy?
no. Nope. I literally, his sister had left a couple hours ago. He got home and I was straight up like just telling him how he should do this.
Wow.
And so yeah, so of course he did a ton of research. He was looking up all the things, watching the podcast. And then it was probably a couple days later that we had talked to Mindy over the phone. And even the whole time, I was barely even listening. Like I was just there, like really hoping he would like go
Got
for
it.
it. Um, and so, yeah, then he said, you should do it. So at first I was like, yeah, you're crazy. And then I was like, well, maybe if I just do it and like, if I could show him that I could even do it slightly, he'll know he can do it and he'll do it. So that was my point in starting, was to try and help a couple families to show him that he could help way more than that.
Wow. I love the power of a wonderful, supportive wife. Like that story is amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe if I could do it a little bit, I could prove to him that he can do it too. That line right there changed the entire trajectory of your family.
Oh,
Does that make
absolutely.
sense?
Yeah.
That's you. That's all you.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
you pitching it. That's you believing he could do it. That's you saying, when he said, yeah, listen, maybe you should do it. And you saying, well, something's got to change. And it doesn't sound like I have any momentum right now with the change.
Yeah.
So let me become a catalyst for change. Let me be the change I want to see. I hope you know, I don't know, it's funny, these stories exist and we glaze by them a lot just because it's history. It's the past. It's been done. Um, I don't know how much credit, I don't know if you received the amount of credit you deserve. Like for
Oh,
real, for real, for real. The flowers of, because it's not just you selling some policies. It's you believing for your family in a different way than you've ever had before. It's not just you complaining to his sister. It's you taking action on the thing that you wanted to change your family, that you wanted change in your family. You didn't know it would be otherworldly, life-changing, whatever. You just stood on something different,
right.
and then you fought for that something different in everything that you could, in every possible way that you could fight for it, which is pitching it, calling Mindy, getting a better idea of what it was, and then going to go do it yourself. Like, this story should be told more, not less. Does that make
Aw,
sense?
yeah. And the crazy thing is, at the time, I mean, telling it now, I see how impactful it was. At the time. It just, it seems so small at the time, not a big deal. Now, obviously, it's we're here. So it's
Yes. And your family, listen, incomes change dramatically, yes?
oh yeah.
Time has changed dramatically, yes?
Yes.
I mean, you're working, it's a business, you are trying to grow it, but how much more do you see Greg now than prior to this?
I mean, I work with him, so I see him all the time, home and at work. But our kids see him so much more. That's the thing. He gets to see our kids grow up now, which he didn't before.
And how amazing is that to you? Let's talk about that piece because people need to understand the power of what we do,
Yeah.
Chelsey. And I think that you can communicate that really well based on what you're experiencing.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, car business, it's very strict the time you get off. And when you get a day off, you make up in a different day. So if he would take off a Saturday, he would have to work his one day off during the week. So any day that he took off in his last job, he would sacrifice a day with us. So he would have to choose, like, hey, if I want a weekend with my wife, I have to sacrifice seeing my kids for the week, or vice versa. So honestly, it was so crazy when he first started this job and we took a family vacation, and just like not having to figure out, like, hey, we're not going to see you for 2 weeks in order to go on this vacation, or you can go to your kid's softball game this afternoon. Like, it was awesome.
It's such a game changer.
Yeah.
It's so different. Cool. So that happened. And then Greg sees you do it.
Hmm.
What happens?
Yeah. So, I mean, I started off slowly because I was like, okay, like, yeah, I'm going to do this. But I was still working as a nurse. We hadn't even had childcare for our kids. So I was taking care of them. So I slowly rotated into that shift of like, okay, we need to get childcare. I need to start working. So it was slow. It took a few months like for me to figure out like, okay, I actually am going to do this. Um, so that was the first thing. We put our kids in childcare, which at the time, I mean, it wasn't like we were used to paying that bill or putting them in. So I was like, okay, well, I need to make money because I'm not going to leave my kids to just pay for childcare. So if I'm going to leave my kids, it is going to be worth it and I need
Wow.
to make it worth it. So the first month, I was just getting into it, getting started, and then I mean, it takes off faster than you think it does. That's the crazy thing.
It sure does. I'm liking you more and more as we do this. You know, you have an amazing resolve. Um, if I'm gonna put my kids in, I need to make money. Now,
Yeah.
whatever the bill is for your kids, I, I can only imagine how much you're, outpacing that bill right now, right? With your efforts out there in the field helping families, or doing telesales. You're doing telesales, right?
Yeah, all telesales.
It's crazy. Now you started in the field, yes?
Yes.
We'll talk about this transition from telesales, from the field, which is how
Yeah.
you learned, to telesales and how you adapted to that.
Well, yeah. So when I started, the first like couple weeks I started, I was just still working around Greg's schedule. So he had one day off during the week. So that was my run day. But then it's like, okay, I'm not seeing him, but we'll get better. So I was running that day and then I would have my mom come over the day before so I could dial. So that was literally all I was doing was like a day and a half. Um, and running in the field, I mean, I could only do 2 or 3 appointments a day, if that driving all over. So as soon as telesales became a thing, that's when I was like, I can book 10 appointments in a day. Like, that's awesome. So after a few weeks in the field where I realized like, hey, 3 appointments a day is not going to prove anything to Greg. Then that's when I put the kids in childcare. And that was around the same time. I was only in probably a month before telesales happened. And then telesales, I would say, is when it kicked off. That's when I was like, okay, I need to start really showing Greg that this works, which means I need to have more appointments so I can help more families.
Wow. Now, at any point during this time, as your brain's doing all that, is he going, so what'd you make today, babe? Or what happened today? Or, is he asking questions? Is he leaning in? Or do you just feel like you have to continue to do this to get him to lean in?
No, so he was completely watching all the things at this point. So he was on Slack, he was on social media, he was following more of like the sites and the things than I was. I really had no idea what was going on. I was just like, hey, I'm going to call people and try to help them and sell some policies. He was like following all the things on Facebook and he probably knew apps like more about it than I even did. I was just like, hey, this is the only thing that really matters to me at the moment. But yeah, so he was watching the numbers. He was seeing what was going on for sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
And eventually he bites.
Oh yeah. After convention.
So he went to convention,
Mm-hmm.
which is a great thing all in itself, because he had to take the time off to go, correct?
Yeah.
How did that work?
So it was a big deal. So I had started, I mean, I really started in probably like October, conventions in February. But like I said, I wasn't doing a whole lot. And then I started telesales, I think in December, but then it was like Christmas. So I took a couple weeks off and didn't do a ton. January, I had helped about 10 families, which was more than I had ever helped. And it still was huge for our family. So then that's when that's when I started making little comments like, hey babe, what did you make this week? Like,
You were making those comments.
yeah. So then I started
Wow.
making comments like, how many
Whoa.
hours did you work? Cause I only worked 2 days.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
just here and there. I just had to
Yeah,
like,
yeah. A little pepper, a little
a few
salt, a little
nuggets,
pepper. Yeah,
which he knew because
yeah,
he knew.
yeah.
Um, so then this is crazy. I wasn't gonna go to convention because I was like, I'm gonna have to spend the money. We're gonna have to fly there, like stay. And at the time it was still a little tight. And I was like, so I wasn't planning on going. And he told me, he's like, we need to go to convention. And I was like, well, then if I go, I'm not gonna be able to work that week. And then I was just making excuses. And he told me, he was like, no, we should go to convention. And I was like, are you gonna be able to like get it off? He's like, I'll get it off. Like, I want to see what's going on. Because at that point, I was already starting to prove to him with what I was doing in my numbers that obviously, because I was still only working a day and a half or 2 days a week. So he was seeing my numbers and seeing the hours I was working. So he actually is the one that's like, hey, we need to go to convention.
Wow.
So yeah, he took it off work. It was a big deal that he took it off work. And we went to convention. And when we were at convention, I wasn't saying anything to him as far as like, see, babe, look at that. You could do that. Like,
Yeah,
I wasn't making the
What a
comments.
smart. You're so
There.
smart. You,
Yeah.
you got this thing figured out. Good for
Yeah.
you. Go ahead.
But I'm telling you, he had like a whole book of notes, like filled up he was into it, which I was too. Convention's amazing. That's a whole other podcast on how amazing convention is. But yeah, so it was the last day we're sitting there and he's like, babe, I'm gonna do this. I was like, what? You are? Really? And he's like, yep, this is what I'm gonna do. So
It's
that
like
was
bringing a family, an unbelieving family member to church. You say nothing. You say nothing. You let the Holy Spirit work. You let the pastor work. You let the warmth of the room work. You let the worship work. You let everything else work. You say nothing.
Mhm.
Does that sound right?
Oh yeah. I laid the nuggets before, but then you don't have to say anything at convention. Like it was life. I tell everyone, I'm like, it was life-changing. Like everybody speaking at convention is amazing. So yeah, I did not have to say anything. I was silent and let them do the work.
Let them minister to the soul.
Yeah.
I like it, man. You're quite the recruiter.
I didn't realize it, but yeah.
Yeah. You got all that inside you. It's coming out, which is great. And you're starting to realize these gifts and talents.
Yeah.
What does that feel like to go from I've never sold anything to now being a sales machine, a driver, and really a high level recruiter, starting with recruiting your husband? How does it feel?
To be honest, it's so like surreal. Like half the time I still don't even realize it because I'm just like, I've got a schedule now. I come to work, I do my thing. Um, Half the time I don't even realize it. And then I'll see the monthly numbers come out and I'm like, dang, okay, I did pretty good this month. Like it happens so fast. That's what's
Wow.
crazy. I was like, I feel like just yesterday I was at convention, not having even a clue what was going on. And now it's like just in a short few months, honestly, it's just been crazy. So yeah, I'm still just like getting used to it and realizing it, but oh my gosh, it's been the best thing ever. I absolutely love it.
That's amazing. So you, in your sales ability, you guys start building an agency. You have agents coming on.
Yeah.
Greg does a ton of the recruiting. Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay. And you're doing a lot of the selling. So that means you're also doing a lot of the training. Is that the setup?
Yeah. So Andrew does, Andrew sells, that's his job. Greg does the recruiting. I do my own like sales. And then I help train with a lot of the agents. So a lot of them are sitting in my office with me all day and we're talking in between what I'm doing and I help get them going. And then they're calling me too. Like I have them like, hey, call me when you're on appointments. Like I'm answering a lot of the calls and things.
That's awesome. So you and Andrew are doing a lot of that kind of onboarding, sales, psychology, sales training, yes?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Where do you stack up with recruiting your own warm market? You know, like um, Greg's sister kind of recruit. Did she ever get involved?
No, she's like not involved at all. Like she is a stay-at-home mom and she never really even wanted to get involved. She was just like, hey, I see what Mitty's doing and
She was
Greg
a
could do
vessel. She was a
that.
vessel.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Some plant, some water. God provides the increase. Like she was
Yeah.
there to either plant or water. I mean, like
Yeah.
and look at look at now, grand opening, South Bend office, one of the best grand openings I've ever been to. What is it like? Training, um, and now recruiting. I think I was asking about your warm market. Are you doing any of that, and is that something that you see yourself doing more of moving forward?
I'm really, to be honest, just getting started recruiting, which is so crazy because even when I started this, like my plan was like Greg to get started, and then I was going back to nursing. Like this wasn't what I was doing. I'm not trying to be a salesperson. So my plan was him get started and I'm gonna stop. Even with convention, I was like, okay, if we're gonna go, like I'll be able to stop writing after convention.
Wow.
And convention happened. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. Um, but yeah, so I never wanted to recruit or do any of that. Um, but just it's been recently, since really Greg's got into it that I'm like, and even after convention, I was like, I could start a team, like I could start recruiting. So I've been just producing to sort of provide income while Greg and Greg's getting started and doing that. But more recently now I've been trying to transition into starting to recruit. So I have a couple people that are getting started and yeah, I'm gonna start really recruiting some more market people. So
Let's
yeah,
go.
I'm excited about that. And I'm very
Let's.
competitive, so I'm
Oh
like,
yes.
you better watch out because I'm
Yeah.
coming.
I'll tell you what. The way you recruited your husband with the jabs and the poking and the prodding, and the nonstop. You are a recruiter,
Yeah,
Chelsey. You are definitely a recruiter, an elite one too. So, congratulations to you and your success.
thank you.
Thank you for jumping on to our training day. If there was an agent out there that was looking to get started with you, how could they find you?
They can reach out to me either I have Facebook, they can call me, shoot me a text, um, really any way.
Do you have Instagram or
But
no?
yeah, I have Instagram.
What's
So
your
Chelsey
handle?
Wolfe. I think it's like Chelsey_Wolfe with an E at the end.
Totally. So they can get started with you that way. And if you had a parting shot, like if there was a new agent listening in and they wanted to be inspired by what it is you're saying, or they were thinking about doing what you're doing, and they want to know a little more. What would be a parting shot that you'd give?
So a couple things. One, I feel like a lot of people think you need sales experience to do this job, which is farthest from the truth. You need no experience, learn on the job. And then also my schedule. I mean, I'm still working just 2 to 3 days a week. So you don't have to work 9 to 5. You don't have to work a 40, 60 hours a week. You can do this part-time if you need something.
That's
So I've been
strong.
told to do part-time, but some people do full-time just if you're real
Focused.
good with your time.
And how many families are you helping on average a month?
I've been helping right around 25 families a month. And
In
right
two
now I'm
days.
working 2 days a week.
That's insane.
So,
I know how great that is. I do. Do you ever think about working 4 days a week, or do you in your head you're going, I'm doing what I need to do?
no, it's funny that you said that. Never have I wanted to work 4 days a week. It was actually part of the reason I went to nursing because I was like, oh, I can work 12-hour shifts and not work a 9 to 5.
Mhm.
But now, like, this doesn't feel like work. Like
Mhm.
I love coming into the job. It's almost like, man, I'm getting out of the house. Like I love it doesn't feel like work. I love what I'm doing. So yeah, when our youngest, she's 3, when she starts school, couple years, then yeah, I definitely want to do it full time.
That's amazing. Congrats to you. This is a great story because it's. I mean, y'all are helping 200 to 250 families a month just based on your belief level from day one, which is, and that's only going to exponentially grow and explode. The energy, the momentum, the excitement down there in South Bend is insane. Y'all have a massive agency across this country. So congratulations, Chelsey.
Excited. Thank you. Yeah, we have some new people starting, so we're really excited.
I know you are. Just getting started, baby. Thank you so much for joining us on our Training Day podcast. We appreciate you, Chelsey. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. I hope you have an amazing day with your family, friends, loved ones. It's a very warm day of the year, and I hope you have valuable time with loved ones. God bless you. Take care.